Kia ora everyone, we'll get started. Any members on Zoom? No, skip over that part. Would like to, if we start the live stream? No, like to welcome any members of the public. I think we've just got Craig here. Kia ora, Craig. And yeah, please use your microphones and we'll get the live stream started. Emergency procedures are on the screen. If you're not familiar with them, please take a quick moment to read them. No mai, haere mai, whakatau mai, ki te komiti arataki māhere rohi. Welcome along to the District Plan Committee on Thursday, the 2nd of May. We'll start with our opening formalities. I'll bring these up onto the screen. Please join along with me. Tēnei o te haukai nei o taku tapuai. Ko te haukai nuku, ko te haukai rangi, ko te haukai a tau tupuna, a tāne nui a rangi. Ka pikiti ai ki ngā rangi tūhaha, ki te tiho o mānono. Ka rokahina atu rā, ka io mātua kori anaki. Ka tikinga mai ngā kiti o te wānanga. Ko te kiti tuauri, ko te kiti tuatia, ko te kiti aranui. Ka tiri a, ka pōpoa, ka putu mai e ho, ko te ira tangata, ko te whia ao, ki te ao marama, tihei mauri ora. Apologies, we've received none. Moving into public comment. Before we do that, I'd just like to move that the committee temporarily suspend standing orders 16.1, subjects of the public comment, to allow a member of the public to speak on a matter not on the agenda. Craig, feel free to join us at the table. Obviously, this isn't something we traditionally do, but we're thankful you're here today with us. So I'd like a seconder to move that. Councillor Edwards, all those in favour, please say aye. Declare that carried. So Craig, happy to give you sort of 3 to 4 minutes to talk about the items that aren't on the agenda today. Kia ora, thank you.
Kia ora koutou. First of all, thank you to the Chair for allowing me to speak. So this relates to the public comment made 29 of February, and I spoke on behalf of myself and also the Wainuiomata Rural Community Association. I want to clarify that the concern that I had and also the concern of the association is limited in the Wainuiomata North area to the eastern hills. So there's the steep eastern hills at the end of Wainuiomata, and they are being proposed to be zoned rural residential, so subdivision down to 1 hectare, and that also extends over into Moores Valley. So that's just that area. It's not the area to the west. I also wish to express some concern about the minutes of the committee. If you check the video and compare to the minutes, I believe at every point that could be the basis for a court challenge should be included in the minutes. I can see that there are points which are not included. And I also accept utterly that I may be confused about this particular point, but I was unable to find where I requested the submission of the Rural Association to be appended to the minutes. I confirmed with somebody who watched the live stream that I asked this. I'm not sure if it's that meeting but anyway, the point is I did ask for the Rural Association submission to be appended. And I want to report that I requested the submissions to the draft district plan under Lagoima. I received only some of the submissions from the council, and this has led to a complaint to the Ombudsman. I found that the information supplied includes the removal of names and addresses, which is highly problematic because the people who submitted, it is my belief that if we go to court, we are required to provide service to these people. And also the submission process provides standing for the court, I believe. So I think on both those counts, it's important that information is made available. I note, now I don't know if you have read the submissions, but a large number of submissions are expressing confusion. Many people are confused by the letter sent out, signed by the CE. And that relates to the fact that parcels and properties were not identified, owners of multiple properties did not know what part, and also people who owned one property still didn't know what area they were the proposals were referring to. And I also note that some submitters asked that their submissions be confidential. That's highly problematic because submissions are supposed to be public. It's the whole basis for the Environment Court process, for instance. I think you do need to go and contact those submitters and find out what they wish to be done with their submission in the light of that. Thank you.
Kia ora, thank you, Craig. Do any members have any questions? Cool. Mayor Barry.
Just the question, Craig, you covered quite a few different issues there. Are you speaking as an individual on all of those matters, or are you speaking as on behalf of the Waimata Rural Association, or is it a mixture?
I'm sorry, yes, it is a mixture. We safe to say that each of those points can be taken as personally. Yes, I think I could say that if that's helpful.
I think it's just you were introduced as on behalf of the Rural Association. So this is a personal comment throughout.
Well, okay. So the point that I, as chair of the association, asked for the submission to be appended to the minutes, that would certainly be considered a submission on behalf of the association. Yes.
Just on that one point, I think we had a conversation at that meeting or immediately afterwards that I gave you an undertaking that if we weren't able, because at that stage it wasn't clear whether we were allowed to release all of the submissions from the district plan, I gave you the undertaking that if we weren't able to do that, then I would get your submission appended. But subsequent to that meeting, we found out that you'd done an OIA to request them all, and we've released all the submissions. So yours is part of that pack that's been released.
Okay, from my count, that's not correct. I haven't thoroughly checked this, but according to the agenda, 300 submissions were received, and there are not 300 submissions in the supplied information.
Cool. We'll leave that with officers. Obviously, you've done another OIA on that, so they'll get back to you in due course on the actual submissions. Councillor Edwards.
Thanks, Craig. The ones that they expressed confusion, I mean, the letters out to residents were just an effort to raise awareness that this process was going on. It's quite a complicated process, and in my opinion, the council was doing its level best to just raise awareness that these things were happening. Those people who expressed confusion about it, the process to you, do you happen to know whether they subsequently then contacted our officers to sort of get clarification of the issues that they were worried about? Because that was one of the options we were promulgating.
Well, I guess that's one of the problems, is because some of the people confused, actually their submission is that communication. So I think that is one of the problems. I do have some expertise in, say, geographic information systems, and I do know that it is relatively simple to identify geographically entities such as properties and parcels, and also to digitally provide individualised maps, and all of those things could have been done to reduce confusion. So those letters are certainly confusing and certainly subpar in terms of conveying information.
Cool. I think I'll just add a really quick comment. Like, it would have been extremely difficult to send out 6,000 individual letters with 6,000 individual maps. We wouldn't be sitting here now. They'd still be putting stamps on envelopes, sending those out. And as Councillor Evans says, this was an effort to make people aware of a process through a non-legislative process, obviously, as we're heading into the more formal RMA restricted process later this year. But thank you so much for coming in, Craig. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Cool. Move on to item number 4, conflict of interest declarations. Do any members have any conflicts? No. We'll move on to item number 5, Te Ao Māori zones and chapters update. This is on page 7 of our agenda. I'd like to welcome Nathan Gerd, Policy Planning Manager, and a new face in the room, Crystal Bennett, our Senior Tikanga Māori Policy Planner. So please join us at the table, and maybe just take a quick moment to introduce yourself, Crystal. Kia ora.
Kia ora tātou. Ko horua ki te maunga, ko mōkau te awa, ko mōkau te marae, ko mātātua te waka, ko ngā puhi nui tonu, te iwi, ko ngā te rehia, me ngā te wai o ke hapu, ko Crystal Bennett tuku ingoa. I'm happy to take the Te Ao Māori chapters as read, unless there's specific questions, but I'd just like to point out that Te Kāhui has been amazing for the mana whenua engagement.
That's us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's us.
Kia ora
Cool, I'll take
tātou.
it as read. Kia ora, thank you so much. No, haere mai. Do any members have any questions about this paper? Councillor Shaw, then Councillor Mitchell.
Kia ora, welcome to your new role. My question is on page 8. There's reference to a number of marae have been identified to be included in the Māori purpose zone. And my question is, how's Taurahiri incorporated in any of the discussions moving forward around Te Ao Māori practices? How do we address Taurahiri?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not familiar with the term.
So I guess Taurahiri are people who are not mana whenua, Māori living in the Hutt Valley, my understanding.
Yeah, I guess I can speak to that to some extent, having been involved in some of the meetings that we've had prior to Crystal joining the team. With the Māori purpose zones, many of the marae are not directly connected with mana whenua, so there is the engagement through the marae, but other than that, there hasn't been any targeted engagement with any other Māori other than through mana whenua.
So back to my question again, is there an intention to involve Māori who are not linked to a marae or mana whenua?
There isn't anything other than the same involvement that anyone else would have through the engagement on the draft district plan, for example, and also opportunities to make submissions on the proposed district plan when that's notified.
Kia ora, thank you. Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, just a comment from me. Just last night I received an email, and I don't know who else on or in council received the same email, with a letter attached from Te Atiawa ki te upoko o te Ika Māui Pōtiki Trust, which is a trust that, according to the letter, represents Te Atiawa Taranaki whānui's interests, particularly in the space of Māori fisheries. I don't know if they're on your radar or have been part of conversations, but in particular, they request in this letter to be contacted in relation to marine coast and waterways, lakes, rivers and streams, which of course is a part of this mahi. So I'm happy to forward the letter. I just wanted to check if you guys had received similar or anyone else, and I'm happy to forward the letter on to you.
Have you received that letter?
No, I haven't received that letter.
Kia ora, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Mitchell. We did follow up on this, and it will go through to officers in the CE, but it will go through with the group Te Atiawa to discuss, because there's a whole lot of procedures that need to happen in their place first before it comes here. So it's just getting that understanding. Could you support me with that one, please, Mr. Tioni?
I can support you on that one. Essentially, the members of that trust are also members of Port Nicholson Block Settlement Trust or owners of Wellington Tents Trust, Palms North Māori Reserve Trust. In fact, several of them are my relations. So, I think in terms of the paper that we're looking at now, there's very few sites of significance that they would need to consult on. And I've talked to Mark Fenwick, who's one of the trustees anyway, regarding some of these sites. If we were talking about specific things to do with the harbour, then I think we'd consult with them alongside the other trusts that we need to talk to. But in general terms, in terms of sites of significance to Māori, I think the people that have been involved in the consultation have covered the sites pretty well. And while I've got the microphone, just an acknowledgement to council officers for the process that we've gone through on this. Really thorough, really positive. Credit to them.
Kia ora, thank you for that feedback. Councillor Mitchell.
Sorry, just to further clarify and explain myself, the letter I received in no way was related to today's meeting or the paper being discussed. It was a generic one asking for engagement on particularly marine, coastal and waterways issues.
Kia ora. Any further questions? No, just one from me. Obviously it talks in here about the SASMs being sort of more identified, and the next step now is consulting with those affected landowners. Do we know what the time frame is for this engagement to occur?
So I think we're probably at the point where the engagement landowners will need to be through the proposed district plan previously, and including in meetings with the committee, we've said that we'd look at doing a round of engagement with the affected landowners prior to a proposed district plan. We're running short on time to be able to do that, and that would delay notifying the proposed district plan until 2025. We also think that through that formal submission process would be the best way to receive the input. It's a little bit different from some other situations where we've engaged with affected landowners, where with previous engagement, it's often been about the factual basis that we've used to identify something as a hazard area or a landscape or something like that, where this is something that is very much more about mana whenua's expression of what is significant to them, where that will obviously be of interest to landowners, and particularly the restrictions that the district plan may impose. But as far as the actual identification, it's yes, it's something that's really more expression of what mana whenua tell us about that.
And will this committee be getting another paper before the notified plan on the SASM locations and what potentially those rules might be, or would that come through on the, can't remember the date, but we'll call it the big meeting?
It will definitely be part of the big meeting where we will present all of the maps and all of the objectives, policies and rules. If it's of use to the committee, then we would be able to do a particular update. We have other meetings that are scheduled before that meeting where we present the big report, where we would be able to do an update so that you're aware of where it is heading.
Kia ora. Yeah, obviously we don't want to do anything to delay the proposed plan going out, but I think anything that we weren't able to consult on through the draft probably does warrant coming to the committee as a separate report rather than being lumped into that big meeting, because it's going to be big. Any further questions on this one? No. Cool. I'd like to move that the committee notes and receives the information in this report. Could I have a seconder? Richard Tioni. Any debate? No. I'd like to move the motion then. All those in favour, please say aye. All against? Declare that carried. Kia ora, thank you so much, and welcome again, Kristen. Moving on to item number 6, the approach to mixed-use zones. This is on page 11 of our agenda. I'd like to welcome to the table Stephen Davis, our Senior Policy Planner, to speak to the item. Obviously, Stephen, we've already read your report, but if there's any parts of it you'd like to highlight, and if not, we'll move into questions. Kia ora.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. No, nothing to highlight except just to say, don't want to over-egg this, just we did receive a bit of feedback. There is this national direction coming, and we want to make sure you're comfortable with the approach we're recommending.
Kia ora. Do any members have any questions? Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. Very happy for the most part with what's been proposed. I just was maybe after a little bit more detail about particularly the neighbourhood centre zone, new zone that's proposed there. Somewhere in between local centre zones and mixed use zones. So just wondering, is that going to pull areas out of the local centre zone or out of the mixed use zone or both to meet in the middle there? I was just looking at the maps this morning from the draft plan, and up where I live in Nainai, Hillary Court is a local centre zone, which makes a lot of sense to me. Interestingly, there's a small block of shops on Rata Street, which is also a local centre zone, and an equally small block of shops on another street, which is a mixed use zone. So I'm kind of now a bit confused about why there were different zones to begin with and which ones will end up being neighbourhood centre zones.
We weren't going to do the work to identify exactly which centres should be in or out until we got your direction on this. But our general thinking was some of those smallest local centres would be coming out into the neighbourhood centre zone, and those mixed-use areas that are effectively a little centre in their own right would also be going up to the neighbourhood centre zone. So it'd be a combination of both.
Councillor Shaw.
The question I have relates to an existing situation currently at Taita, where there is, and I've raised this before, where there is a BP service station, there's an auto car wreckers right next door, and I understand that they have consent to be there, and then we have housing right next door. Will this mixed housing zone or whatever it is take into account future applications for that type of mix? Because it just seems a little bit odd that that combination of business all exists in a very short space or very, very close area.
So I think all of the commercial zones, mixed use or neighbourhood centre or local centre, would take a similar sort of approach to consenting those sorts of things. You'd be able to apply for a resource consent, and it would be chiefly in that sort of case based on how it affects the neighbours, both your commercial neighbours, not affecting the character of the commercial centre too much that would impact other businesses, and also what impact it has on the the privacy and quality of life of residential neighbours. A lot of those sorts of businesses have been consented in the past under the rules of the suburban commercial activity area that was removed in Plan Change 56, which was sort of much more designed to combine, to provide for both sort of local shops and the sorts of panel beaters and mechanics type businesses that do set up in the suburbs. The approach we've been bringing you in the draft plan and intended to provide you for the full plan is we will have dedicated light industrial zones that are better targeted towards those sorts of businesses like mechanics, and that the local and neighbourhood centre zones and mixed use zones wouldn't be encouraging those sorts of things unless they can demonstrate in a resource consent that it can be done in a way that is sympathetic to their commercial and residential neighbours, which I don't know if that one in Taita, as it works at the moment, would.
So just in regards to that question then, will the new rules change that current situation? Because there appears to me to be quite a lot of volatile material close to people.
So there's nothing the council can do by modifying its district plan to change an existing consented activity, as long as they continue to comply with the conditions of their consent. They can keep doing that indefinitely, and there's nothing the council can do about it. The council does send its monitoring enforcement team to check that they are meeting the conditions of that existing consent, and if they wanted to go beyond what they're currently allowed to do, then that would be, they'd have to apply for a new consent, and that would be considered under the new rules as they are at the time they applied. But the doctrine of existing use rights in the plan is pretty strong. Once it's legally established or consented, the council has very few options and only in extreme circumstances to stop people doing that.
Kia ora, Councillor Mitchell.
Thanks. I did just have one more question about mixed zones, and it was about expanding the mixed-use corridor up High Street to Bulcott and Avalon shops. I think from memory it was to the hospital or thereabouts anyway. And when that was first proposed, I thought that was quite generous in of itself. So I was just wondering where the feedback has come from, requesting even more space to be given over to commercial use.
That wasn't directly in response to a piece of feedback seeking that corridor in particular, but we did receive a number of pieces of feedback asking that it be expanded in general and asking officers to consider a whole range of other areas described in fairly general terms. One of the reasons I've recommended the approach I have is that we'll probably have the ability to expand or contract the area in the hearings. We'll have that national direction on mixed use to inform that in the hearings, but unfortunately not now when you're presenting the plan. I think my recommendation to you is that it's better to err on the side of including more people in the discussion about the mixed use zone, because then they can submit, have their say, whereas if you expand the area of the mixed use zone in the hearings, that may come as a bit of a surprise to people who, although in theory they could have read every submission and known that someone had asked for the mixed use to be expanded to their area, you know, in practice we know that's not going to happen. So I think it's fairer to people to think they might be in the mixed use zone and then get taken out rather than not hear about it at all.
Kia ora, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I just wonder, with these mixed-use zones and the areas that we're talking about extending, will the district plan coincide, will it work together with traffic management? Because we can foresee that there won't be any parking if it slowly over time turns into commercial use, and there's parking there now for residents, hospital use and everything. If it goes commercial, usually goes no parking or meters. So does it tie in? Are we going to get that coordinated together?
Our team's working together with the transport and strategy teams on the review of the parking policy now, and we'll expect that'll have options for you about that. For the mixed use zone, one of the things we're recommending there is that we trigger consent for businesses that would have a significant amount of off-street parking or off-street that would need off-street loading, either because they want it themselves or because the transport chapter in the plan requires it for something of their type or scale. So it would be really about managing the on-street parking, and that's chiefly what you do through the parking policy. So you'll have recommendations about that when the parking policy comes back to the council.
Question, sorry, just following up. Are the zones 100% site coverage in this area as well?
I will have to check, which I could probably do in about 45 seconds if you want to wait.
I'm just where I'm going to with that question. Historically, Petone had, you know, the shops at the front, and they had an access way, service delivery area for anything that was commercial. I was just, you know, is that something that could be factored in depending on the application, or do we include it in the zone if we go commercial?
So I can check the site coverage now if you want, or we'll take a few seconds.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, all the commercial zones have subdivision rules that where there's an existing service lane, they have to retain access to that for all subdivisions. So you can't end up subdividing off a new lot that wouldn't have service lane access if the one that was being subdivided off did. But there's nothing that we've proposed to encourage the formation of new service lanes. That is something the council could do, and through the district plan in part, but it would involve the council budgeting a reasonable amount of money to acquire that land when it came up, because it would need to then own and invest those service lanes. If that's something the council wants to explore, you can ask us to do so, but I will again just warn you that it will involve a bit of a financial outlay in buying that land when it comes up, and the council may not have much control over the timing of that.
I can see Nathan teetering on his seat. I think he might have information that you're meant to drag your question out for 45 seconds, Deputy Mayor.
Just clarifying, for the mixed-use zone, there in the draft district plan, there wasn't a maximum site coverage standard. There are other standards that would limit, I suppose, the amount of development that you'd ultimately have on a site around outdoor living space if there's residential units, the typical property setbacks and recession plan kind of standards that we have, but nothing that particularly or specifically addresses the site coverage. There are other provisions in the district plan around stormwater neutrality, which would require a level of open space on a site to achieve that, or likelihood, but nothing that directly addresses that issue.
Kia ora. Thank you, Nathan. Any other members got a question? Councillor Edwards.
Just one for clarification, Stephen. You mentioned parking policy in response to one of the questions. Is that a parking chapter of the long-term plan, or is this a parking strategy separate from the long-term plan that you're working on? And if it's the latter, when is that going to be available?
I don't have those dates for you. We can get that back to you. I don't know what the reporting to the council's been like on that strategy. Tim, I thought Tim was trying to grab my attention, but no, he's not. We'll get back to you on that.
Just think if it is the city's overall parking strategy, it would be useful to have it before we make LTP decisions.
Yeah, I know that the strategy team are working on it. I can catch up with them about the actual time frame for it.
Any other members have any questions? No. Great. Cool. I'd like to move all the recommendations in front of us. Obviously, there's a few there. I won't read through them all, but obviously notes and receives the report, and then directs officers to take a range of steps there, A through F, on how we progress with the mixed use and neighbourhood centre zones. And 3, notes that council will have the opportunity to revisit its position on mixed use once national direction is released. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Lewis. Any members wishing to speak? I'll just make a few brief remarks. I just wanted to commend officers on the way the report's laid out, and you've really articulately gone through the issues that the public have raised and provided sort of a pretty sound, balanced argument for both sides, and ultimately made a recommendation to us. I think it's a really thorough way to go through as we go through obviously some more of the more contentious topics going forward. You've set the bar pretty high for yourselves off the first one. Any other members wishing to speak? Great. I'd like to move the motion then. All those in favour, please say aye. All against? Declare that carried. Move on to item number 7, which is an information item, the forward work program. This is on page 21 of our agenda. Do any members have any questions regarding the forward work program? I'll quickly just bring it up. Yeah, as you'll note, we've got a few additional meetings that have been added in there outside of the usual cycle, just to get through the workload that we need to do to hit that proposed deadline. So next few months will be a bit heavier than usual, but I have faith that we and officers will get through it. So I'd like to move the forward work program. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Morgan. All those in favour, please say aye. All against? Declare that carried. Questions? I've received no questions, so we'd like to bring up the closing formalities onto the screen. Please join along with me. Unu here, unu here. Unu here e te uru tapanui, kia wātia, kia mama, te nākau, te tinana, te wairua i te aratakatu. Koe rā e rongo, whakaihiaki ki runga, kia wātia, ai rā, kua wātia, hau pai mārie. Kia ora, thank you everyone. I'll declare the meeting closed at 2:35.